exploring Star Wars inspired Corvettes, there's certainly a plethora of iconic shapes to be inspired from. In this case, I'm inspired by the classic sleek lines of the Star Destroyer, as well as the brutal jumbled lines of the CR90 Corvette. Let's see how it all comes together. Welcome to Technouveau. My name is Rasmus. I'm an art director and concept designer with 20 years of professional games development experience, and I'm on a mission to inspire and empower your creativity by discussing and showcasing concept design and the processes included in doing that type of work. Today I want to show you a Star Wars inspired, I'm not even going to tell you what pack this ship is a part of because you know already, but today I want to show you a Star Wars inspired Corvette design, and I want to share with you the design thinking that I had when designing it and what my considerations were, and how sort of my mind works when I'm in this process. You might have noticed that this video has ads in front of it. Well, unless you're YouTube Pro, whatever, subscriber, whatever it's called. But if you'd like to support Technouveau and if you'd like to support the work I'm doing here, or if you want to view the video without ads, I have a Patreon link downstairs, and I just made the Patreon. So work on all the details. If you have any suggestions on how to sharpen it, please let me know. But without further ado, let's dive into the video. If we start here in Photoshop, you'll see the overview of the CR200T. So from the top, I think it's obvious to see some of the references, but we'll get back to that. Let's start with a quick overview of what's what. First, I note here the bridge, which is an open layout with commanding officers roaming freely among the many control and monitoring pods staffed by the crew. Secondly, we have this little observation pod here, which is a small observation blimp for visual inspection and enemy designation, should the automated targeting recognition systems be inoperable. Main sensor array over here, obviously. We have a port service, an emergency bay where the ship can launch little EVA units for inspection and repairs. Let's see number 5. Right, this is the classic stuff. Again, you can probably see where this is inspired from, but we'll get back to it in a little bit. Port and starboard airlocks for personnel transfer onto larger vessels and space stations. Number 6. Where's number 6? Oh yeah, here. Oversized EVA hatch providing access to the exterior of the ship. This hatch is large enough for EVA personnel to carry substantial equipment should the need arise. So this is larger than a person, which means they can get gear and equipment out there as well. 7. Up here. Single barrel turbo laser mount point, turret mount point. 8. Dual laser turret mount point. I don't know much about turbo lasers, so if you want to inform me why this is wrong, please feel free to do so. Number 9. Up here, secondary sensor array. Hyperspace calculation unit, maybe. 10. Where's that? Where's number 10? Oh yeah, of course, this one. Main hull service pits enabling quick access to components needing maintenance, fluid reservoirs, gas valves, and other port subs will be found here as well. So similar to many of the other ships I'm designing, I have this idea that these holes in the ship hull give quick access to parts needing repairs more often than others. I see it as sort of like a fuel cap of a sports car in a sense. 11. Where's 11? Right here. These here side thingamajigs. Upon development, their cooler class was found to have a slight unwanted fluttering in atmospheric flight. To fix the problem and avoid maneuvering issues, atmospheric stabilizers were fitted. So this is just an idea that we see a lot of with military development and aircraft and whatnot, ships and everything, where during trials they discover certain issues and that they are simply being brute force fixed with slits or winglets or all kinds of different things. So I was just inspired to explain this shape that I simply put there because I like it, with these sort of developments. And here, one of my classics, my classic favorite things, these engine parts here. The ones of you who are familiar with my work, you will know that this is certainly something I tend to do. So 12, engine intake winglets, ensuring the correct guidance of both atmospheric gases as well as subspace zero-point energy to the engine intakes. Again, here I'm toying with the idea of the engines in space needing intakes. It's just because I like intakes. I think intakes are cool, but this is then an explanation. And again, this is a really, really significant style cue from the inspiration sources that we'll come back to a little bit later. Dual fan, number 13, dual fan atmosphere and 0-point energy turbines. These engines combine power with durability to ensure a strong and reliable function. The drawback being that they use large amounts of fuel and lubrication. Rock solid and dependable when serviced and fueled properly. Of course, this last point is to sort of explain some of those drawbacks with let's say we have a big, durable and dependable system, but it needs a lot of fuel and a lot of simple maintenance. So trustworthy under the right circumstances, but certainly durable. Because I feel like this design here certainly is quite engine heavy. Not quite as engine heavy as it's as one of its main inspiration points here, but let's get to that now. So if we look at this ship and the main inspirators, I call it CR200 to play with the idea of it being a Carillion design similar to the CR90. Simply because I have a few of these traits. The primary of these traits that are shared with the CR90 is the big engine bank in the back. It is these stabilizers here we saw in the previous image. Of course, the CR90 has these on the body itself. It looks super, super hardcore, and I love them. So I wanted to add something similar to this one, as well as these docking ports that I have placed up front here. Other than that, obviously the shape, the big triangular vector, what's it called? Delta shape is inspired by obviously the classic Star Destroyer, which you can see here compared to the CR90 is massive, 1.6 kilometers, a mile long, compared to these ships, which are 150 and 177 meters long. This big triangular shape is just so iconic, and in a sense it has a little bit of a reference to the prequel trilogy as well. What are the Star Destroyers called? Anyway, the ones with this indentation in the side, they look super, super awesome. So there's a little bit of a whole bunch of different Star Wars flavor in this ship. A little bit of the radar class as well, simply because of the size. It's so similar. But I imagine this one, the CR200 to be of a Carillion design as well. So yeah, that's really the foundations of the inspirations. And obviously anybody seeing this design, these references are quite clear. They spring to mind immediately, I would say. If we dive into, oh yeah, right, check these ones out. Malte Ulrich here on ArtStation has this amazing CR90 model. It is so cool. I mean, look at these gorgeous renders as well. But here we can see mainly the big engine bank, which is massive. It's even bigger on this one than on my design, actually. But I just want to lend your or point your focus to these stabilizers here. These elements, I think, is some of the odder Star Wars design elements. It is really, really brutal and really, really simplistic, and it's almost like it feels like a technology that doesn't belong in a spacefaring fantasy epic. It's almost like World War I engineering. It's like really, really simplistic. And I really like these shapes. And if we dive into to look at the 3D model, you can see what I mean here. In my take, that they are simply assigned to hold the engine banks, really. Mine doesn't look as brutal as the original CR90. That looks really, really brutal, but I really like this shape here. And yeah, so okay, so looking at the big 3D ship here, you can see what I mean with the delta shape, the prequel trilogy inspirations. I mean, I can't remember what that Star Destroyer is called right now, but you'll tell me, please. Also with the outline of the red, right, in terms of having that graphic wrap around the shape of the ship. And I think what surprised me as I built it was really how thick it was. It's really like tall, because I guess you imagine Star Destroyer slimness when you see sort of a vector shape, but actually this one is quite chunky. And here we have that side port I mentioned in the image overview, where I just imagine you can sort of have a little lifeboat or a little service something access from out here. And then down below we have the regular landing bay. This feels a little Star Destroyer-y, but of course this would be a lot smaller, whereas this ship and the CR-90 would fit in the docking bay of a proper Star Destroyer. This one is probably more for launching fighters, fightercraft and things like that. So certainly much smaller. And here we have these classic Carillion sandwich design with the exposed parts in the middle, and I have my typical dotting of light arrays around, giving this sense of some sort of random industrial flavor. It's almost like an oil refinery at a distance. And the bridge and the little viewport there, you can see how simply it's modeled. It's not really modeled super complex, and there's no real interior here. It's mainly so that when the camera sort of grazes the correct angle, you can see illumination inside. It really isn't intended to for the camera to be super up close. It has a dual mount, the bridge here, and then again dominated by the big engines. Here are the stabilators, as I was talking about. It has this little interesting round shape. One could argue that maybe there's some gravity stuff in those that can sort of prevent some of that shaking. I always see cylinders and I think of maybe some sort of rotational maglev type anti-grav something, but of course in a Star Wars setting that's not really something you worry about. You know, where does the gravity come from? We know that they have the technology, and that's answer enough. Down below you can see these ports. I can imagine them being escape modules of some sort. And then a few sheaths over here over this tech and out into a nose. Actually, you can see that this design differs from the render I just showed you with two antennas, for instance. That's interesting. I'd actually forgotten that. Yeah, I like that. I like one better. Yeah, and of course the docks here, the docking ports and clamps, they are stolen from one of my other designs. I've made a big Carillion flavored Millennium Falcon Big Brother design that has this complicated airlock, and I've simply stolen that element for this particular ship. So yeah, that's it. This angle here is something that I enjoy with a ship, that the line of the sandwiching coming out into the arm for the middle engine, and then these angles of these elements here up to the engines are really striking. It's like a beauty angle for the design, I think. Right there. It's almost like they point to the airlock as well. So these three elements feel sort of connected at that angle there. See what I mean? Yeah. So I imagine this ship as being a patrol ship. You know, it's a Corvette, obviously. So patrol duties and maintaining. I mean, I suppose you send this ship if you want to send some government people to keep the peace and whatnot. If you want to patrol a system and ensure that the borders are maintained, or maybe you can send it to solve smaller issues and present and assert your presence in a small system. But other than that, it doesn't really, you know, it's not a big deal. It's a small deal. But somehow, I suppose, for me, ships of this size allow for a lot of character, and they allow for smaller stories to be weaved. Whereas Star Destroyers and the bigger ships, capital ships, the real big ones, they feel like entire cities in space, where this one, it feels like the adventure would be smaller, a little bit maybe harder to imagine what the outcome would be, more surprising maybe, and ultimately an adventure that isn't about the destiny of the galaxy, but more about the destiny of the people on board, problems they're dealing with, and their immediate futures, rather than an adventure that is the one adventure to end all adventures, and I personally am inspired by that. So I like designing ships that have that chunky size where we go from a small crew to 2, 3, 4 people up to something like this. I don't even know what is the crew size of a ship of 177 meters, 200 people. I think this size calls for a different type of adventure than the big capital ships. But of course, inspired by Star Destroyers, inspired by prequel Star Destroyers, inspired by the CR-90 Carillion Corvette, and by the what's it called? By the Raider class as well. Yeah, another fun aspect is this model had many different variations over the time I was working on it. I actually rebuilt the entire model from the ground up. So here are some older shots of some of the earlier models. I was using some Greeble pack that I had purchased, and because I was going to resell it, I had to remodel the whole thing. It was a nightmare, but that explains some of the confusion I have in which model am I playing here, and I suppose I chose the wrong one. Apologies, it happens. You should see my file cabinet. It's not orderly, so I apologize about that. But let's just check out some more renders, and then I'll sign off for today. See you next time.